More and more severe weather is expected here in the United States, even though we've already had our first wave of severe weather that caused a tornado outbreak yesterday. Where will this be, as well as how significant could these storms be? All will be answered later on in the video. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate. I also go by HockeyBoy8. In this video, as I mentioned, we're going to still be talking about the severe weather that's going to linger all the way through into the mid and even latter stages of this week. Before we get started, please be sure to leave a like on the video, as this does help me spread this to more and more people on YouTube. That way, we can try and get this information out to as many people as possible. Subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media. Also, follow me on social media. Link will be in the description down below. As I said, we've had a lot of severe weather that is anticipated to continue to move on through into the United States, but yesterday was a massive day for severe weather. A tornado outbreak with significant tornadoes in Missouri and Illinois had occurred, and my oh my, what a very dangerous day that was. A quick overview of what happened yesterday. A tornado outbreak did occur with 15 tornado reports within the span of Missouri all the way into Illinois, with 50 wind reports and 5 hail reports across the board in the United States. And this also created a couple of strong tornadoes that did occur in Missouri. The National Weather Service are conducting damage surveys for 2 of the tornadoes that went through Missouri, in southeastern Missouri specifically. As of right now, they are still ongoing, but so far the damages are as follows. The Chester tornado, which caused the tornado emergency, which is the highest level tornado warning that can be issued from the National Weather Service, is so far an EF2 tornado with 115 mile-per-hour winds. And the other tornado, which went through Fredericktown, has 140 mile-per-hour winds with an EF3 status. Now, how the EF scale works for tornadoes is that it doesn't actually look at the winds. It looks at how much damage it does, and then it does the calculations based off of that damage, and then we can tell as to how fast the winds were based off of that damage. Now, there could be some instances to where the tornado could have been stronger, but it just didn't hit anything. And that's the one thing about the enhanced Fujita scale, is that it only does it based off of damage and not at its peak intensity. So that's just one thing there to make a note of as they continue to do these damage surveys. And if there are any questions as to whether or not it could have been stronger, there is the possibility, but once again, the surveys are still ongoing. So now that we've had that brief overview out of the way, let's take a look at the satellite imagery here. You can see that we have the leftover of that low pressure system that has caused all that severe weather over into Missouri and Illinois is now shifted off towards the Ohio River Valley. We have some severe weather that's starting to spark over here into portions of the mid-Atlantic, specifically around Virginia and North Carolina. That will most likely be the main area of the threat today. Damaging winds and tornadoes is expected to be the main threat. Hail, not exactly to be any sort of a concern. You could see some spotty amounts within your area, but we'll talk about that a little bit later with the Storm Prediction Center. And then we have a new low pressure system that's beginning to form here off of this giant boundary that formed from this bomb cyclone that is starting to move further and further up along the northern west coast of the United States, heading on towards British Columbia and even Alaska. So the bomb cyclone will still continue to create some strong damaging winds surging on into the coastline. But the main thing here, the reason why there's expected to be severe weather again, is because there's this new developing low pressure system off of this boundary that's shooting off with a lot of strong damaging winds in the upper portions of the atmosphere. So if we shift over to the Storm Prediction Center's categorical outlook here for day 1, which is October 25th, 2021, that's the day of which I am actually releasing this video. We have a couple of colors here across the United States. If you see this light green, that's basically a general thunderstorm risk. It does not mean that you can't see severe weather, but just know it's a very, very, very low chance. Almost a 0 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. You would then have this dark green, which is a 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale, and then this yellow, which is a 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. So if you live within these areas, I highly recommend monitoring for severe weather within your area. As I said, hail is not expected to be a huge threat, but there is a 5% chance for hail within that brown area indicated. a 5% chance of seeing 1-inch size hail within a 25-mile radius. You also do have a significant wind area right here of 15%, so definitely something to watch out for 58-mile-per-hour winds or greater within a 25-mile radius as well. And then you do have a tornado risk here, 2 of them actually, a smaller one over here in southeastern portions of Ohio, and then a larger one over here into portions of North Carolina and Virginia, as well as extreme southern portions of Maryland. 2% indicated in green, 5% indicated in brown. So whatever probability you have, that is your chance of seeing a tornado within a 25-mile radius. Moving on to the day 2 categorical outlook. 1 out of 5 in green, 2 out of 5 in yellow, 3 out of 5 in orange. That is the severe weather scale here for Tuesday, October 26th, 2021. So if you live within these areas, especially in the 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale, I highly recommend watching out for severe weather. All the cities or the major populous areas are down there at the bottom part of your screen if you can read it. If you can't, I apologize. But Oklahoma City, Norman, Wichita Falls, all the way up towards places near Dodge City, highly recommend watching out for severe weather in your general vicinity. Large hail is expected to be the main priority as of this outlook right now. That could change to more of a wind and tornado threat, which I actually predict will most likely be the case as we get closer and closer to the event. When I make my video tomorrow morning, this will most likely be changed to where the hail and the tornado threat will probably be the main priorities there, contrast to what it was today, where it's more of a wind and tornado threat. But 5% is indicated in brown, 15 in yellow, 30 in red. So whatever probability you have, that is your chance of seeing 1-inch size hail or larger within a 25-mile radius. You also have this black circle with dotted lines in the middle, and that is a significant severe risk, a hatched risk, basically meaning there is a 10% chance or greater probability of seeing 2-inch size hail or larger within a 25-mile radius in that spot. So Hayes, Great Bend, Woodward, Elk City, Weatherford, Oklahoma, that general vicinity, you guys can see some significant hail within your area. Be on alert for that. The wind risk here is expected to be somewhat widespread. Once again, 5% in brown, 15 in yellow, and 30 in red. Quite a widespread risk there for 58-mile-per-hour winds within a 25-mile radius. And then you have an expansive tornado risk, and I actually predict that the tornado risk will most likely amplify. It will probably be upgraded to a 10% chance for tornadoes somewhere over here in southern Kansas, as well as extreme western Oklahoma. But we do have an expansive risk for tornadoes, 2% in green, 5% in brown. So whatever probability you have, that is your chance of seeing a tornado within a 25-mile radius. Moving on to the day 3 convective outlook here, you can see that most of this is localized over here near Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. We have a 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale indicated in dark green, 2 out of 5 in yellow. I honestly think that there could be a 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale somewhere over here, say near Houston, all the way over towards Lake Charles, and maybe even a little bit further east. But we'll have to continue to watch out for how that continues to play, as we are a little bit too far out to say for certain. But regardless, as of right now, there is the risk for severe weather over there as well. And you guys need to continue to monitor that very closely as we get closer and closer towards Wednesday. So now let's talk about the simulated radar here with the weather models. We're going to be taking a look at the HRRR model to tell us as to where the severe weather could potentially be in the mid-Atlantic as well as the Northeast. The timings is above me in Eastern Daylight Time, so it's already converted for you all. You can see a couple things. You can see a band of showers and thunderstorms moving on through the Appalachians, as well as another band of showers and thunderstorms into Ohio. That's going to create your other tornado risk that I was talking about earlier. That's where the other low pressure system is, but there is also another low pressure system that's off the coast of the Carolinas, creating a lot of showers and thunderstorms in the Atlantic Ocean at the moment, so thank God for that. And this will basically play out as a bit more of a widespread severe weather system. Look at this, a lot of showers and thunderstorms that start to form across the board here. Eastern Ohio as well as western West Virginia starts to get into the activity at around 8 p.m. Eastern, as well as this massive line of storms that starts to move on through into North Carolina as well as Virginia and Maryland, maybe even little portions of the eastern panhandle of West Virginia as well. So would not be surprised if they got into the action right around 8 to maybe even 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. As this continues to move on through into the midnight hours, look at this massive widespread scale of showers and thunderstorms that go all the way up and down the I-95 corridor. Look at this, all the way through from DC into Boston, all sorts of showers and thunderstorms. And this is only the beginning here, because as this continues to play on into Tuesday and even Wednesday, look at what happens here in the Northeast. Massive widespread amounts of rain that is anticipated to practically sit over there for the next couple of days after these storms arrive. And look at this. So much rain, massive flooding risk that is expected here within this general vicinity. Definitely something to watch out for as this continues to progress. And if you live in these areas, do not be surprised if strong damaging winds as well as flooding is your main risk here with these showers and thunderstorms. Could potentially even see something tropical off of this, but it seems to be a little bit too cool for it to really be something tropical. But we'll watch this very closely as this continues to progress, and we'll have another update for you potentially tomorrow. So now let's take a look at the central plains here. Once again, the timing is above me. However, it's in Eastern Daylight Time, so subtract 1 hour to convert it to Central Daylight Time. It's already 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and there's no showers and thunderstorms that really show up besides stuff near Corpus Christi, but they're not in the risk here on Tuesday. And so if we move it 1 extra hour, look at this. Now showers and thunderstorms begin to form here according to the HRRR, and then as this progresses from 7 to 8, you can see widespread activity that starts to form here along portions of Kansas into Oklahoma as well as Texas. And this is the event that we are expecting to be a bit of a discrete mode in the beginning before it turns all linear. It all turns into a strong damaging wind risk. And by midnight, look at how expansive this line is. A massive QLCS that starts to move on through from portions of Nebraska, Kansas, all the way into Oklahoma and down into Texas. Huge widespread scale of showers and thunderstorms that moves on through, even into the early hours of Wednesday. And I mean, just wow, look at how expansive these showers and thunderstorms are. Now, I said that the NAM has a different opinion than the HRRR, so let's take a look at that model here. Once again, the timing is above me. You can see it's around 3 Central. Now it's 4 Central, and you can start to see potentially something that starts to form over here near the northern panhandle of Texas. It starts to approach areas near Childers, Texas, and is getting closer and closer towards Lawton, Oklahoma, Frederick, Oklahoma, that general vicinity. Storms do begin to form from there, and then things just basically become a bit more widespread from there. You get to see some more showers and thunderstorms, maybe something that starts to gust out here as a strong damaging wind risk into portions of western Oklahoma, some more discrete showers and thunderstorms that could become severe into portions of central Kansas, maybe even west central Kansas. And then as this goes into a more overnight event, you can see that massive line of showers and thunderstorms that begin to form. However, it does not take shape over here in Kansas. It's just more or less just a scattered shower and thunderstorm event for them. But then Oklahoma down into Texas, you still have those showers and thunderstorms that could potentially be severe as well. And that'll push on through even into the morning hours of Wednesday. So now we're going to take a look at the upper level winds here, the 500 millibar wind shear, or just basically winds 6 kilometers above ground level. And the thing of it is that we're taking a look at the winds, what's happening right now, to basically give you an idea as to how the models tend to be pretty consistent. And it's a verification method to show you that this isn't just something that happened in the past, and so that this could potentially happen in the future. So we have our low pressure that's on the top right-hand part of your screen. You can see how it's swirling in a counterclockwise fashion, creating a lot of wind shear there. And you also have here on this model run here from the Euro, your low pressure system that's moving on through here in portions of the Great Lakes as well as the Ohio River Valley, creating a lot of wind shear here that's gaining traction and pushing on through. Now, the model as of right now is showing what's happening earlier on in the day in the early morning hours. So if we zoom this on through into what's happening currently when I'm recording this video, it actually ends up verifying you have your low pressure system that's moving over Ohio, and that's exactly what's happening at the top right-hand part of your screen. You also have this new low pressure system that's moving on through here into portions of California, creating a lot of strong wind shear. This has created numerous power outages as well as flooding over there on the west coast of the United States. And then you also have this tropical system that's now moving inland. This was Hurricane Rick, now is Tropical Depression Rick, and this will basically move on through into portions of Texas. Now, you might be wondering, well, Nate, why are you telling us about a tropical depression when this other low pressure system over here is creating the severe weather? And this low pressure system is going to be influenced by this tropical system, believe it or not. What's going to happen is Rick is going to move into the area of where the severe weather is going to be, and this low pressure system is going to be attracted by that low pressure system, and it's going to follow it. So watch this. Watch what happens here. Heading into the Tuesday hours, look at what happens. You have the remnants of Rick that move into Texas, and then you have this low pressure system that moves on through into portions of Colorado, as well as Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, and it creates your strong wind shear here, indicated by the darker colors, which darker colors indicate stronger amounts of wind shear. You can see for the most part how expansive this wind shear is from this new low pressure system. And this is where the severe weather is expected to be, right along that strong and intense wind shear in Texas, in Oklahoma, in Kansas. And that will most likely be your threat heading into Tuesday. Now we're going to take a look at another level of the atmosphere here, the 850 millibar wind shear, which is just basically 3 kilometers above ground level. And this is on Monday afternoon into Monday evening, and this will show you how weak the winds are within the general vicinity. We have a lot of these blues and greens, which indicate some wind shear amounts in upwards of about 20 knots, maybe even 25 knots, which is about 25 to 30 miles per hour. That's but watch what happens here as we head into Tuesday. Look at this. Wind shear levels increase very heavily. Look at this. Wind shear in upwards of 35 to even 40 knots in some spots, meaning 40 to 45 mile per hour winds 3 kilometers above ground level. And what this is going to do is this is going to basically bring a lot of the moisture, which is down here in the Gulf of Mexico, and carry it north. You can see how a lot of these lines are moving from bottom to top. What that basically is telling us is the general directional shear is the winds are moving from the south to the north, picking up a lot of this moisture in the Gulf of Mexico. And we can see this here with the dew points that is forecasted for this area. So this is Monday evening into Monday overnight. You can see a lot of this moisture across the board here in Texas and Louisiana, as well as the Gulf of Mexico. But then watch what happens as we move into Tuesday. The moisture then starts to skyrocket. It starts to move on further and further north. And you can see it actually goes all the way up to Kansas, where we have a lot of 60-degree dew points. That's about what you want for severe weather. 60-degree dew points or higher. If you can even get higher than that, you can expect more significant severe weather. And we do have that into portions of southwestern portions of Kansas, as well as western Oklahoma. And that's kind of the reason why I personally think there could be an elevated threat for tornadoes within that general vicinity, because the risk for severe weather is just really good according to the model run. Now, what we also have here is we have a little bit of a dry line setup. And what happens with dry line setups, where you have a lot of dry air on one side, a lot of moisture on the other, is if showers and thunderstorms can form along that line, that basically means that you can have some strong damaging winds and large hail within that. So whenever you see that happen, that tells you that if you have showers that form along that line, they could potentially be significant. So just something to keep in mind as this continues to move about. Now, one other thing we look for in severe weather is something called Convective Available Potential Energy, or CAPE for short. What that is warm air rising and cold air sinking in the atmosphere, basically creating a lot of energy for showers and thunderstorms to form or sustain. So more CAPE, more energy, more showers and thunderstorms. Now, what you typically want for severe weather is about 2,000 joules per kilogram or above. And you can find that with some of these yellows here, and even some of the oranges, 2,000 joules per kilogram, maybe even higher, up to 2,500 joules per kilogram, right within that area of southwestern portions of Kansas, heading into Texas and Oklahoma. And even as we continue it later on into the evening and the overnight hours, the CAPE actually starts to increase into those portions, which is the reason why I also think that there could potentially be an increase in severe weather within that general vicinity. But one thing as a disclaimer is that just because the conditions for severe weather is stronger than some other areas doesn't mean that storms could form in there. So it's just one of those things where if they do form in that area, it probably will be the most significant. So now what I want to do is I want to combine everything that I just talked about. We talked about CAPE just recently. We talked about the 500 millibar wind shear. We talked about the 850 millibar wind shear. We didn't talk about 10 meter above ground level wind shear, but that just basically is just winds 30 feet above ground level. So that's pretty easy to understand. Now, what we're looking at here is a map that combines all of that, all right? All the things I just talked about. And what we want to look for here is we want to look at these sticks that are in this general pattern of red going down like this at an angle. We want the blacks to move at an angle like this, and then we want the blues to angle something like that. And if we get something like that here on the screen, then that tells us that it is favorable for tornadoes to potentially form, or even just general supercells. And what this tells us is that basically shows us that this environment there, where we have that same diagram, is favorable for strong showers and thunderstorms, or supercells as we like to call them. If we match that up with high amounts of CAPE, we have a very good environment potentially for even stronger supercells. So let's take a look at that here a little bit more in depth. We have our CAPE indicated. We have a lot of CAPE here in portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And then we also have that similar environment here to where we have that same diagram, that similar diagram that I showed before. But it's a little bit more evenly distributed over here into portions of northwestern Oklahoma and southwestern Kansas, as well as western Oklahoma heading into the northwestern portions, or the northeastern portions of the Texas Panhandle. So that's the area to watch, in my opinion, as to where the most significant tornadoes could potentially be if those showers and thunderstorms do end up forming. And even as we move one frame a little bit later, you can see the CAPE start to expand, but the winds actually start to become a little bit more compact, meaning that it probably will most likely be more of a strong damaging wind threat at this point. But I would not be surprised if you saw something still in southwestern portions of Kansas, just near the Dodge City area, as well as areas near Woodward in Oklahoma. So now, once again, let's continue to take a look at the simulated radar here for Wednesday, because we do have that severe weather event on Wednesday as well. So taking a look here from the North American model, you can see those showers and thunderstorms continue to form along a line. But then what happens here is that this line ends up kind of separating from this other line that was over here in Oklahoma. And this, in my opinion, will probably be the highest tornado risk over here sometime in the early afternoon hours in Louisiana. Somewhere around Lake Charles probably has the best chance for severe weather, in my honest opinion. And then afterwards, it'll continue to rumble on through, even with some risks for tornadoes in areas like eastern Louisiana as well as southern Mississippi. And this will continue all the way throughout the latter stages of the evening into the overnight hours, as well as another line of showers and thunderstorms that'll move on through into portions of Arkansas and northern Louisiana heading into Mississippi. Looking back at the 500 millibar wind shear again, things start to really uptick here as it moves on through into Louisiana. You can see that this is heading off into the latter stages of Wednesday, and the wind shear actually is relatively decent, pretty moderate, I should say, actually, in that general vicinity of Louisiana and Mississippi, creating very strong upper level flow. Looking at the 850 millibar wind shear here now, you can see that there is very good mid-level flow that's moving onshore into portions of Texas and Louisiana, creating a lot of strong wind shear for those showers and thunderstorms that will move on through. And at that same time, it is also bringing a lot of this moisture here from the Gulf of Mexico into the severe warned area. And we got to continue to watch out for this, because this is some really moist dew points in upwards of the 70s, even into the mid 70s. I was looking at some of the actual environmental soundings for the area for people who may know weather a little bit more in depth. The soundings look like a classic Dixie Alley event, and that's something that I don't exactly want to see here in the latter stages of October. This is more or less something that would happen in portions of March and even April. So just something to consider as this continues to move on through. As I said, Lake Charles probably is the area to be if you were to storm chase, in my honest opinion. Now, the convective available potential energy isn't as vast as the day prior. However, there is some, as I said, along portions of coastal Louisiana as well as Texas. So that's something to really watch out for as to how this progresses and how those showers and thunderstorms do interact with the energy in the atmosphere for them. As that continues to head on further and further to the east, that energy will still be provided for them. And last but not least here with the weather, we're going to want to combine all of that once again, and we have a lot of those favorable patterns here with the wind dynamics, as well as some CAPE within that general vicinity, indicating that it is favorable for supercells to develop, potentially even creating tornadoes. So definitely something to where we're going to have to watch out for. As I said, the area to watch will most likely have to be areas near Houston all the way to as far east as New Orleans. Now, before I go into my outro here, I do want to give a huge shout out to Weatherman Plus. Thank you so much for the shout out on your channel. Thank you for providing the Lord's work on your channel as well. I really do appreciate that, and I really do appreciate you going through all sorts of possibilities, discussing the weather on your channel. So thank you so much for the shout out. God bless. Keep providing the Lord's work, and God bless you once again. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're new and turn on notifications. Share this with friends and family and on social media. Also, follow me on social media. Link will be in the description down below. That's going to be it for me. Thank you guys, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace out.